Good morning. Welcome to the original Loretta Brown Show, radio to open the heart, heal the soul, and awaken the consciousness. And if you're out there driving around, drive safe. You know, we always have this stuff that goes on. So I feel like, Benny, I need to like wipe my forehead off and breathe a sigh of relief. We made it through the eclipses. Whew.
Yeah, I might have felt like you were still in that, or you were like coming in here about a couple minutes to spare there. I was a little nervous.
This morning was tough. There was a lot of traffic out there. You know how things have a flow to them and then they don't?
Well, I've explained this plenty of times, and I'll do it one more time. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I feel, are the busiest days of the week, only because people, if on Monday, they're coming off the weekend, they're getting a little bit of a slow start, jumping the week, and then Monday's over, and they're like, oh, I got to get to work on Tuesday. I got so much to do. I kind of was like, leaking. And then Wednesday, hey, it's hump day. Woo, we can kind of, splurge a little bit. And then, oh, no, it was hump day. Thursday, I've got to get stuff done because Friday's after it.
That's right.
So
that's exactly right. Yeah, it was the energy out there, too. I like how you applied energy to it because, yeah, I could feel it. And it was like, no matter what lane I was in, you know what it's like when that person's right on your bumper?
Like it's going to make us all go faster.
Right. And I'm like, there's 10 people ahead of me all going this speed. What do you want me to do? You know? So anyway, I could feel the pressure out there. So
lane switching is hilarious just because if everyone starts at, like, let's take 405 south where it meets the 167. And they lane switch back and forth all the way, and you get to the very top, and you're right next to the same person. You've lane switched like 5 times. You're like, see, you know.
Yeah, Betty, you're right on top of it because that's exactly what happened.
So just stay in your lane.
Yeah, this guy in this big car, and I was like, where are you going with that big car?
I've got to get to work. That's right.
Anyway, I was at the light ahead of him when it came down to it.
See, that's what I'm saying. You wave it like,
and
what's me, like you wave back. And
I
like,
hate
hey,
to say, and I hate to sound so like, but I'm just like all of you. I was like going,
2 cars ahead of you. Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. That's exactly right. So anyway, this is the Loretta Brown Show. We're just having a little bit of fun because I know that when you're out commuting and when you're getting ready in the morning.
It's happening right now.
Yes,
people are dealing with it right now.
I know that right now while I'm saying that, someone in their car is going, that's it.
Are they watching?
That's it. Like, preach it, girl. That's it. That's right. So, we are just like you. We're just on the radio talking to you, and that's kind of my favorite thing to do. I love it so much. And thanks for tuning in. I want to remind you, if you're listening, that all of these shows are recorded, and they're archived at the KKNW 1150 archive, you know, the original Loretta Brown Show. And they're also available at thelorettabrownshow.com. So no worries. And we also have YouTubes now, thanks to my amazing webmaster, Indigo Hawk. A big shout out and thank you for all of your hard work behind the scenes. And I'm just going to make a little joke about Indigo Hawk. He really helps my show fly. Yep, he sure does. So thank you. And it helps us get the information out there so that if you're driving along and you hear something that you really like, don't worry. You will be able to listen to it again and even take notes if you want to. So I'm the owner of the Reiki Oasis, located right here in Seattle. We're in our 22nd year of business. Woo! Hard to believe. I know. I just feel so grateful. And we're expanding. I have a new Reiki master who is helping out with the overflow, Sherry Morris. And so very soon, probably this week, you'll find that if you go to schedule.reikioasis.com, that you can choose to have a session with me, and I do many, many things, as you all know, or you can get just beautiful, gentle Japanese Reiki with Sherry. And that's just going to help out because, as many of you know, it can take several months to get in to see me. I always apologize about it, but it is worth the wait. It's very, very good. I work with the angels and all of that sort of beautiful, divine energy. So for those of you that would like to know more about Reiki, Reiki 1 class will be April 1st, and that's not April Fool's Day. It's just April 1st. And for those of you that are ready for Reiki Masterclass, we have a class coming up the day after tomorrow, which is Saturday, March 4th. On Sunday, March 19th, I'll be doing a crystal bowl healing concert at Bala Yoga in Kirkland. And this is a great time to come out with your friends, wear your yoga clothes, and go on a beautiful, beautiful meditation of healing. And listen to these crystal bowls because sound is very, very important. Sound is the basis of everything. Not to get too preachy on you, but, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And it's a great thing for us to ponder sometimes. So I have on my show today a wonderful guest, and I really wanted to take the time to bring her on. We had not much time to put this together, and so I want to thank her in advance for her flexibility as we kind of threw this together. But she is Susanne Paterson, Mrs. Moses Lake of 2017. And she has got a wonderful, I'm going to say, a focus, a platform. And I just thought it would be really great to bring her on this morning and have a nice chat with her. So, Susanne, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
It's so wonderful to have you on the show. It just really is great.
Thank you.
We were talking before the show, we're all kind of small town people at some level. I'm originally from Pendleton, Oregon, and, the Roundup and the rodeo. And you're living in Moses Lake. For those listeners that don't know where Moses Lake is, where is it?
It's about 3 hours south of Seattle.
3 hours south of Seattle. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And how long?
Much smaller than Seattle.
Is it?
Yes. Most definitely.
Sometimes that makes it good. We've got small town interactions. Sometimes people know each other a little bit more, and sometimes there's other things going on. But you are Mrs. Moses Lake.
That's right.
Yeah, Mrs. Moses Lake. So how did you get involved in all of this? Tell us a little bit about yourself. One thing that I know is that what I'm doing now, believe it or not, was part of my play when I was a little girl. Everything was a microphone, and everything, I was always teaching people, and I was always putting price tags on everything. And one day I tried to raise a bird from the dead in the backyard, right, which I think was Reiki. Isn't that funny?
We all have our secrets.
Yes, we do. So how did you get into all of this?
As a little girl, I did have the little dreams of being a princess, a dancer, a singer, but I was actually really extremely shy. But, different things played in my life. I did junior miss, didn't think I'd ever do pageants again. But as an adult, I was in Mary Kay business, and that's how I lined up with the Special Star pageant doing makeup for these girls with Down syndrome. And that is where I met the pageant director, and I met a former queen, Jennifer Lloyd, and she saw potential in me. She saw something in me. She saw beauty and inner beauty and poise. And so she told me all about this pageant and what they do. And I was actually quite surprised because, we get this preconceived idea of what pageantry is. But it was so much more than what I thought it was because, we do so much volunteer work. We do, of course, different appearances, but the volunteer work is what really hit home for me, that we can do so much more in our community with having this crown and sash and this title, that it really draws people's attention and starts making some real movement. And along the ride, I get to improve upon myself. And so I thought this was a great opportunity to not only, improve upon myself and continue to grow personally, but that I can really make a difference in my community, in my hometown here, where my kids are growing up.
How long ago was that?
So that was actually just over a year ago. See, the Special Star pageant was in October of 2015. And so that's when she talked to me about it. But I didn't sign up until later on in that December and started in my reign in January of 2016. Mm-hmm. And then so my first pageant with the Mrs. Washington America pageant was in 2016. And then this is my second year.
It sounds to me like it's been a lot of work, but very rewarding work, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, exactly. It has been a lot of work, but extremely rewarding. I've come across so many amazing people, and more people that are driven like me. And I mean, some people tend to get stuck in the negativity of, the world, this and that. But if you want to make a difference in the world, you need to start with yourself. And there really are so many other people out there that are out there doing the same. And they want that positivity. And they're amazing people as well. And so with making these connections, with getting involved in these fundraisers that I do and these foundations that I'm helping with, I get the reward of meeting these amazing people and knowing that it really is doing something.
I think what you're saying is really, really pertinent because, Susanne, I mean, we've got an awful lot going on in the world right now. The political climate, has people on one, very polarized with each other. And a lot of people come to me and they'll be upset about something or they're going through really hard times. And they quite often ask me, they'll say, Loretta, how do I navigate this? Like, how do I make it through? And one thing I learned a long time ago, and you're a living example of this, is that sometimes we have to get involved. And when we start helping other people, it helps us.
Yes.
And especially when it's something close to our heart. So you've had your own journey to get here, obviously. Yeah.
Yes.
And as you're going through this, I can kind of feel that it's opening you up and enriching you. And I got to ask you this because I think this would be one of the things, that a lot of people think about when you're trying to deal with, beauty pageants and these things, and then also all the volunteering. Do you have children? Do you have a family? Because you're Mrs. Moses Lake, right?
That's right. That's right. I am married. I am Mrs. Moses Lake, yes.
So you have that title. So yes, you got a good title.
Yes, I love it. Yeah, it's the best one. My husband, Max, and I, we have 2 children. Seth is 5 years old, and Jackson is just turned 2. And so 2 very, very energetic boys.
My goodness. Yeah, 5 and 2. Yeah, Benny's got twins. Two twin Bennies.
Yeah. 2 twin Bennies? I've got 4? No. Whoa. New to me. Hello.
They're a bundle of activity.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome. But a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. Wow. So how do you balance that? How do you balance your life, between the pageant and your family?
It definitely does take a balance. A big part of it is first figure out what are your priorities. What are your priorities? Most important part. So, of course, family has to fit in there. Those boys are my number one. And pageant fits in with my life. And I do that by, I balance things out and juggle them in my schedule. So I've got actually this schedule book that has everything in it. I put everything in there for time slots and everything, and that helps me to manage and keep things straight. And then I can see, okay, where can I fit things in? All right, and I'm going to reserve this. This is family time. And so I keep my family as an important part of my life because they can't take a back seat because they're everything to me. They're everything that is the beginning of all of this, and they are a big part of the reason of why I am doing pageantry. So it all has to work together. Yeah,
actually, that's a powerful statement because it's really important, I think, for us to know the why. Why do we do something? The what we do and how we do it, but why are we doing it? And you just said something very powerful, that it is for your family. This is why you do it. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And so tell us more about that. Like, what do you mean by that? What is it that is for them?
Well, I like to set an example for my children.
Okay.
Because a lot of our influence in life is by people that we are around and the things that we see. And with my children seeing that I am doing something positive in my life for others and not just for myself, I think that sets a very important example for them and will have an influence on what they do as they grow into adults. And I want them to be amazing adults who are also out there doing something for other people and making a difference. And they see me also striving for dreams and goals of my own. And I want to have that encouragement for them to go after what it is that they really want in life. They can do it. You know, I used to be really shy as a child, but here I am getting up on stage and speaking to people in public and really putting myself out there when I had fear. But you can push through that, and I want them to be able to push through that. And I want them to have dreams and goals, and not just to be thinking about them and wishing and hoping, but to really get out there and do it.
I love that answer. I really do. Somebody was in my office the other day, and she was talking about how successful she is, and she really is. And I said, what do you really attribute that to? Because I love to talk to successful people and find out what are they doing, right? And she said, I was raised that way. My parents were that way. So it was,
I love it.
Yeah, isn't that great? And
yes, my mother's a big encouragement for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we want, you know, that kind of success for our children, which I think that we all do, we do have to set the example, you know. I was thinking about your daytime or your planner, you know, with everything planned out, which is what we have to do, you know.
It is.
And some days, you know, I'm sure you're like, oh, whew, let me just exhale here, right? But
some days you throw to the wind and just kind of go with it. You know, there are days where it's open and you're like, okay, let's see, what do we want to do today? And we'll just figure it out as we go along. And that's totally okay.
Yeah, I think that's okay too, because I think there is that balance in life, that flow to life, and putting your family first. You know, figuring out your priorities is a really big deal, I think, for people. So, I want to ask you, what kind of volunteer work do you do as Mrs. Moses Lake? Or, I mean, what does it really mean to be Mrs. Moses Lake?
Well, we have in the pageant, there's two different platforms that we have, two different charities. So on a state level, it's the Hope Heart Institute. That's for cardiovascular awareness, heart health, being healthy, mind, body, and soul as a whole for your body to be healthy. That's one thing that we do, and I actually just attended a fundraiser for them and volunteered and helped at that event just last month, and that was actually in your Seattle area. Mm-hmm. And so there's the Hope Heart, that's our state charity. Then our national charity is the Victoria Siegel Foundation, and this is about substance abuse awareness. And I also do some local volunteer work with like New Hope against domestic violence, as well as like the Care Stack program and different little things in my local community. But the biggest one and most important one that hits hardest for me is that Victoria Siegel Foundation for our national charity.
Okay. So we're going to go ahead and take a little station break. And my guest today is Susanne Paterson, Mrs. Moses Lake of 2017. You're listening to The Loretta Brown Show. You can find out more about me at ReikiOasis.com. And don't go away, because when we come back, we're going to talk more about the Victoria Siegel Foundation and Susanne Paterson's work with that. Welcome back to The Loretta Brown Show with my guest, Susanne Paterson, Mrs. Moses Lake, 2017. And I want to read a little bit from the web page for the Victoria Siegel Foundation so that you really start to get the idea of what it is that their national charity is all about. The scope of the drug abuse issue is inescapable and touches everyone in our country. An estimated 24.6 million Americans aged 12 or older have used an illicit drug in the past month. This epidemic is particularly detrimental to the lives of our children. Most people use drugs for the first time as teenagers. Every day, more than 3,600 kids under the age of 18 try an illicit drug for the first time. And for those of you listening, and for myself, this statistic is terrifying. In 2014, more than 47,000 Americans died from an overdose driven by a surge in prescription painkiller, opioid, and heroin abuse. Since 2000, the overdose death rate from opioids has increased a staggering 200%. Another way to think about it is that almost 130 people die every single day from a drug overdose, and it's truly a national crisis. So the Victoria Siegel Foundation, Susanne, tell us a little bit more about this. I did read that right off the webpage, but what is your involvement with them? And tell us about a little bit more. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, what I do is I help to kind of promote, what the foundation is and what it does. And more importantly, I am putting on actually a fundraiser to help raise funds for the foundation because they are all about raising the awareness about substance abuse, stopping the experimentation. Hopefully we can minimize that. And then in turn, minimizing the addiction and the overdoses.
And how did the Victoria Siegel Foundation come about?
Well, that was actually from their daughter. So Victoria Siegel was an 18-year-old girl who had overdosed on medication and died in her parents' home there at 18 years old. Mm. And so her parents decided to put this on in her honor so that they can help prevent that catastrophe for other people. It's devastating, and it's getting worse.
Well, I think it's important for the listeners to understand, too, because I actually know some people who have lost their son to overdose in the home, as well as a husband in a young couple, right? And I think people need to understand that addictions not only are non-prescription drugs, right? The drugs that we talk about out there, but they're prescription drugs.
Prescriptions.
Yeah. As well
as alcohol.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. And I think we know that, everybody experiments at some time with things. And so the awareness of this is kind of what the Victoria Siegel Foundation is about.
Yes, because that experimentation is where it all starts. They think, just trying this one time, it's not going to be a big deal. But they don't realize how strong that can have, what a hold that can have on you with even just that one time.
Yeah.
And seeing that is okay and then moving on to the next and seeing that is okay. And it's this horrible snowball effect that you can't control. And so you have to stop it before it even starts because it will control you. You lose control of yourself. So who is it you'd rather have control of yourself? Are you going to allow this substance that you think you can control to take over yourself? Or are you going to take control, be strong, stand up for yourself, and stand up for others and help to stop this problem?
Well, and I think that it does take all of us working together. I've heard sad tales about one-time use leading to death. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no discrimination in who the drug takes a hold of.
Mm-hmm. The other part of this, and you mentioned this in your biography that you sent me, was your bio, that part of your volunteer platform is ending domestic violence and bringing awareness that violence and drug use often go together.
They do, and that's exactly why I love doing both of those, is because in experience that with substance abuse, like alcoholism, there does tend to be violence with it because that person loses themselves, and then they don't have the control. They can have anger issues. There's many different things that play a part in that, but a lot of it ends up with anger and violence, not only verbal violence and physical violence, you name it.
Mm-hmm. And verbal violence, by the way, I just want to say to the listening audience, if you were raised in a hostile environment where your parents fought or there were people fighting, you as a child were exposed to that violence, and that can cause trauma within you. It can actually cause PTSD, and just by being in that environment of violence. So violence is really something that is in many, many households, and that's another issue completely, but does tie into this, what the Victoria Siegel Foundation is working on. So tell us about this fundraiser. When and where is it?
It is going to be March 18th from 6 to 10 p.m., and that is in Moses Lake at the Pillar Rock Bar and Grill Cafe. So I'm going to have live and silent auction items, and there's going to be raffles and appetizers, and DJ live entertainment's going to do the music. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I did do this last year, and I'm doing it again this year, and I'm going to make it bigger this time. So we always look for improvement, right?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to try and break my record from last year for amount raised. So yeah, it's going to be a great time, all for a good cause, and have some fun along the way.
And so
tickets are $25 a person.
Okay.
And you can get those by contacting me via email, would probably be best. And that email is Mrs. Moses Lake 2017 at outlook.com.
Okay. So just to repeat for the listening audience, you can get tickets for $25 each. And this event is March 18th in Moses Lake. You can get those tickets by emailing Mrs. Moses Lake 2017 at outlook.com. And I want to ask this question. Is there a way for people to donate to your fundraiser if they cannot attend?
Yes, they absolutely can. They can email me to that same email, and then I can send them a ProPay or PayPal where they can send the funds through there. Okay,
wonderful. And I want to just encourage people, even the smallest donation is appreciated. It doesn't have to be $1,000, although if you want to do that, that's great, or $10,000, whatever you want to put toward it. It's very, very great. And, of course, you can find out more about the Victoria Siegel Foundation online at their website. So do check it out. And I want to ask, what advice do you have to anybody who might be thinking about getting involved in beauty pageants?
Well, for starters, I would connect with someone who's doing it. And if you have any questions, you can also ask me. You can look up my Facebook page as well, Mrs. Moses Lake 2017. I'm on there. I'm here for any questions you have. But I'm really connecting with someone who's in it kind of helps get you a better idea of what it is that we do and how it might fit for you. But the biggest advice really is to have a mentor. Have a mentor to help you through it and kind of guide you and take you under their wing. And then that will make the journey so much more enjoyable, and you can learn so much from someone who has done it. And if you're passionate about it, find something you're passionate about for your platform and go with that. And when you go by passion and something that you love, everything is so much more enjoyable, and you will make more difference in the world. And that's what we're here to do, is we're here to make a difference.
And are you able to get sponsorship for your run in the Mrs. Washington America pageant?
Absolutely. Okay. I am. Yeah.
And so how does that work?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm. Well, how that works is I have an ad page that I will have in the program book there at the pageant, and my top 5 will be on my ad page. So my top 5 sponsors get to have their name announced in there. On top of that, any sponsors that I get, all of them will be put up on my Facebook page, my personal, and my Mrs. Moses Lake one. So you will get some publicity there, and I've got over 1,000 followers on my personal Facebook page alone. So I will help to promote you with doing a sponsorship for me.
Sounds wonderful. So I encourage people to get involved in the sponsorship for Susanne Paterson, Mrs. Moses Lake 2017 for Mrs. Washington America. And I have one last question for you, and it's just a personal question. It's an interesting question. You mentioned at the beginning about doing makeup for girls with Down syndrome, makeup artist. How did you get into being a makeup artist?
Well, I actually met one of these girls at my high school reunion who happened to be a Mary Kay beauty consultant, and she invited me for a party, to hold a party, and I was like, oh, yeah, that would be so much fun, doing makeup with girls. I love doing that with my friends. And so we got together. I fell in love with the products, and that's how the rest is history. I became a Mary Kay beauty consultant, and I love being able to share that with others, and I've always had a passion to help others feel beautiful about themselves so that their inner beauty can shine out and they can have that confidence needed to really show people who they are. And so that's when a different friend of mine, Brandy, had asked me, would you do makeup for these girls for this pageant I want to put on to raise funds for them? And of course I was so honored that she would ask me to do makeup for these wonderful, wonderful kids.
I just want to compliment you on it. I think it's awesome. I've read an article not too long ago about someone who was doing makeup for cancer kids, right? And somebody else was doing something design. I think it might have been henna on their heads, because their hair was being shaved off. And there's something so important about being able to celebrate beauty in so many different ways. And, it's not stereotypical. And so even though, and I'm just saying this to my listening audience, and even though you're involved in beauty pageants, like what you say quite often has some sort of a strange stigma attached to it, that you're a real person and you've got a big heart and the things that you do make a difference. And I think if there's any message you have, it's that, and to follow people's hearts. From your bio that you sent me, I'm going to read what you wrote at the end of it for the listening audience. Be the change you wish to see in the world. And of course, that's from Gandhi. And I remember when I was in India, I met with a guru and I said, how do I take all this back home? And he said, be the change you wish to see in the world. When we embody it and when it comes out from us, it's a light out into the world, and it really does create change. The other quote you have, which I deliciously love, says, you have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, and you can steer yourself any direction you choose. And that's from Dr. Seuss. So do you have any last comment here, Susanne, for the listening audience before we go to our commercial break?
I do. You don't have to be in a pageant to make a difference in your community if you don't want to. If there are other ways that you can do it, all you have to do is just reach out, research, find something that is a need, and go help. I urge you, go help, volunteer, find out what you can do to help, because there are so many areas that need help. And if you want to better your own community, it does start with you. Get up, get out, and do something. Do something about it.
I love that. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And this is the Loretta Brown Show. My guest today was Susanne Paterson, Mrs. Moses Lake 2017, reminding you to support her fundraising event for the Victoria Siegel Foundation. We're going to take a station break, and when we come back, we're going to be doing some angel messages and taking callers. So the number here is 425-373-5527, and you still have time to be on the show. And thank you so much, Susanne. Good luck to you. And we'll be watching. That was great. I liked it. Penny. That was good.
So does Ingrid. She's the one who's singing it.
Is she?
Yeah.
That's great. Anyway, welcome back to the Loretta Brown Show. And you'll find out more about me at ReikiOasis.com. We're going to open up the lines. There's just a few minutes. If you'd like to have an angel message this morning live on the air, or you have a question for me about Reiki or energy medicine or a little psychic reading, you can give the radio station a call at 425-373-5527 or 1-888-298-5569. And while you're doing that, I have a little bit of astrology to cover, and also I do have questions from my listeners that, you guys sometimes send me questions and you're like, I'd really like the answer to this. So before I do that, I just want to look at the sky for a moment, because there are big things going on with Venus in the sky right now. And at the beginning of the show, I sort of went, breathe a sigh of relief, because we've made it through the eclipses and the intense clean out, although I'm not sure it ever really stops. But we get a relationship makeover with Venus in retrograde. So a little bit of a breathing room, time to take a look at stuff. And March is undoubtedly one of the most important and the most eventful months of this year. it's got very intense, almost electrifying, fresh and exciting energy. March will bring something new in our life, no matter our astrological signature. We have the spring-autumn equinox, which brings the beginning of a new solar cycle. And I said spring-autumn because it's spring up here and autumn below the equator. And we have the first new moon after the equinox, which will kickstart the new astrological year. We have the sun conjunct Venus, bringing a new Venus synodic cycle. We have Venus retrograde. We have the second Jupiter-Uranus opposition. And we have the second Jupiter-Pluto square, just to mention some major aspects. So today, March 2nd, we have the second Jupiter-Uranus opposition, and this opposition is extremely intense. We will likely feel like it is now or never, and we've been given the last chance to break free of limitations. Although we may feel we cannot wait any longer, keep in mind that this is only the second opposition between Jupiter and Uranus, and we will have the final act of this transit later this year. On March 4th, which is the day after tomorrow, we have one of the big dates of the year. Venus stations retrograde at 13 degrees Pisces, signaling a re-evaluation of our attitudes towards love, money, and personal values. Soon after Venus turns retrograde, Mercury conjuncts Neptune, adding to the general confusion. Don't fear that Venus retrograde cycle. Venus will only bring to our awareness those things that need to be re-examined. And if we've been avoiding making decisions, it's likely we will make them during the Venus retrograde. But these decisions, especially those made after the 25th of March, will only help us prepare for the good things that will come after. Yay! So good things are on the way. There is this wonderful energy to help us make those decisions. There is a full moon in Virgo on March 12th, and the full moon is opposite Chiron and Mercury and squaring Saturn. So this is one of the rather challenging full moons, and it will require a close examination of who we really are. We're being asked again to be disciplined and take responsibility for our lives. And nobody can really help us but us. And I think once we figure that out, it actually gets a little easier. On March 14th, we have the sun conjunct Chiron, and 3 days later, on March 17th, the sun squares Saturn. So we can heal our wounds if we take responsibility for them and do the necessary work on ourselves, which, by the way, is really the only way to move forward. We really do have to face it. And then, of course, we've got the equinox coming up, the spring equinox, which always brings in amazing energy for us. So a very, very busy month, and I only mentioned a couple of things. The month ends with Mercury's ingress in the sign of the bull on the 31st of March, and our ideas will become less erratic, and our communication will become more concrete. So I think we've got some callers. Let's take somebody.
Kim from Monroe, welcome to the show.
Hi, Kim.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning, and what can I do for you?
Well, I was kind of wondering what the angels would have to say. I certainly am at a point in my life where I want to take responsibility for things going on. So many different things are going on. I'm trying to figure out a path.
It's interesting what you just said, because you are surrounded with blue energy, very blue energy, and I call it the energy of truth. Now, this energy is coming from the Archangel Michael. It's also associated with your throat chakra. And so I guess the question I would have for you is, are you speaking your truth? And, there's always that proverbial question, what is truth, right? What is the truth? And
Yes, definitely.
Sometimes the truth is our truth. Like, my truth might be slightly different than yours, depending on, my viewpoint of things, not to get namby-pamby or wishy-washy about it, because, there is the truth, the divine truth, right? Mm-hmm. But are you having trouble accessing your idea of truth?
I think that perhaps I am trying to decide what my truth is, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, trying to figure out what's right for me, and I look at my effect on other people. So how is what's right for me? How is it good or bad for them?
You know, you couldn't land on a better question, honestly. It's a big question, and yet there's a simple answer that's not always to follow through on. Learning how to hold our yeah, I'm giggling with you because I've been there. You know, it's really hard to hold our own space when everybody around us, like, we're worried, like, what if I say this or do this? Will it upset those people? And those people have an expectation of me to be a certain way. And I'm not sure I want to be that way anymore, or that's not quite working for me. And how do I shift this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly.
And so the first thing to do is to admit the truth to yourself. Like, you don't have to tell anybody about that internal process, but just stop running and exhale, kind of land down inside yourself and be with yourself long enough to hear the truth, to know the truth, to feel your very own truth. And then just ask yourself, is that being reflected in my life? Because the biggest challenge any of us have is being our own self in the middle of anything that might be going on. And, you know, honestly, it is not to say that we should be unkind to people, you know. We should be kind. But we have to be kind to ourselves first. And if what's going on is not serving you, then at some point you have to let go of allowing what they think to control you. So the Archangel Michael is very much there. And then you have a lot of very caring angels. There's a lot of, I'm going to say, sympathy around you. So I'm not quite sure your situation, but you have a lot of gentleness around you. And your guides and angels want to help you. So just ask them for it. You know, like I said, get quiet, be with yourself. And sometimes what we want to say is, if I knew the answer to this, what might it be? Because I think you know.
Well, I will pose that question.
And I hope it helps you.
Okay. Well, it does help to really know that the angels are around. I do think that I feel them, but it's nice to be confirmed. Yeah,
and a lot of people do ask me that. It's one of the questions that my listeners quite often ask is, how do I know they're there? And I said, you know they're there through many, many tiny things. A penny on the ground, a feather, a little feeling of comfort, suddenly thinking about them, hearing a song on the radio, the smell of flowers. All of these things are indicators that you are being cared for and loved. And the other big thing is synchronicity. When we're clear on what we want, Kim, when we're clear, we admit the truth and we simply ask for it. We quite often are given what we ask for or something even better. And there's a non-attachment clause to that, right?
Right.
Yeah, so they're definitely with you. They love you very much. And there is, like I said, a lot of love coming to you. I can feel it because my heart is opening toward you. So just take that and be with it, and I hope it helps you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. It takes a certain amount of courage to do that. So blessings to you. Thanks so much.
Okay, have a wonderful day.
You too. Bye now.
Thanks, Kim. We'll take one more, I think, before the end of the show. Charlene from Bellevue. Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Charlene.
Good morning, Loretta.
Good morning, honey. How are you?
Great. So I'm calling for some angel guide message, and the context is really briefly. I'm this year or started last year. I'm co-leading this women's group in my work, and since then, I think I raised my own awareness about gender diversity, and part of that, even just last night when we have a team meeting, offsite dinner, there are actually female colleagues approaching me and sharing about challenges and how they feel that they have to operate in a men's world and they don't want to act like men, and how to be still staying feminine and still survive and thrive and get the job, get the promotion they want, or even touching on the ethnicity diversity. So there's just, I really want to help them, but I feel like I am not sure what tactical things I can actually do. So I am feeling a little helpless and frustrated, so looking for help.
Perfect. Okay. So there's a couple of things that came through really loud. Number one, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. And anytime that we find ourselves in a situation where, I mean, you couldn't be doing more pertinent work and work that really needs to be addressed right now on the planet because of the changing of the energies. And we really are, all of us are seeking the balance between masculine and feminine energies, which are not necessarily gender-based at all. It's masculine and feminine energies within each one of us, as well as in the collective. And we're seeing that played out around us as we take a look at what people call the patriarchy or old school. Like the old school is falling. It really is. And in that falling, the way we know that is because people are being inspired and pushed forward into, like you say, wanting to lead groups. There's many, many groups out there right now. And then feeling like, oh my goodness, do I really have the knowledge to do this? How could I possibly do this? I messed up myself, right? And the angels want you to remember that you are a vessel. You are merely agreeing to be in the right place at the right time and with the courage to open your mouth and let come through you the teachings and the information that need to come. Now, this can be very, as we say, woo-woo, like channeling information, but it can also be very, very practical to where you begin to pay attention to what's happening in your life, using it as a guideline of these things came in, therefore I have to learn how to deal with this challenge. What challenges have I dealt with? What have I learned? And what can I pass on to other people? How can I encourage them to do the same? And so that's really how all of it fits together, and I'm giving it to you like super quick in a super quick nutshell. But for you to feel confident knowing that you're just a vessel, all you have to do is 2%. Divine and God does the other 98%, giving you, leading you in the direction you need to go. The information you need will just end up in your hand. It will come down through you. You will be fine. And
Great.
So face that fear within your own self, releasing it, asking for guidance, keeping yourself connected up. Always keep connected up. And remember two things. Remember humility, not humiliation, humility, and remember to give credit to where the power really comes from, and you will just be fine, my darling.
Thank you so much, Loretta.
Thank you for the work you're doing. Thank you and bless you. And to everybody listening to the show, thanks so much. Remember to support Susanne Paterson, Mrs. Moses Lake 2017, and her fundraising event. And be kind to everybody. Yay! And more l'amour. That's all we need, more love. Talk to you next time. Bye now.